All right, what's up everyone? In today's video, we're going to talk about how to sell 10 times more med spa treatments without being salesy. So this is for you if you run a med spa or aesthetic practice and you run consultations or people on your team run consultations and you're currently struggling to take people from the introductory package that they came in for or the discount or the promotion that they came in for and ascending them into purchasing a package for, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, right? So if that sounds like something that you're struggling with, then hopefully this video will be helpful. Now, before we dive in, if you don't know who I am, my name is Josh. I'm the founder of Wellness Leads. I specifically work with med spas, aesthetic practices, and wellness centers. I've spent hundreds of hours personally generating leads, calling those leads, and booking appointments for med spas. And I booked hundreds of qualified appointments by this point. Now, this video, it stems from a conversation that I was having with a client the other day. They mentioned that they were struggling to get people to buy treatment plans and packages. So people would come in for some kind of promotion that we were running, but then they only ever wanted the promotion, right? In their mind, they think, okay, this one treatment is going to completely and entirely solve my problem. So then the question is, how do we sell more treatment plans when we're using that kind of irresistible one-time introductory package or offer to get people in the door? How do we transition people from, hey, come get this treatment for just $97 to, hey, come buy this package for $1,500 or $2,000? I think a lot of individuals who run these consultations, they struggle to bridge the gap from the $97 introductory first-time thing into the package or the treatment plan sale. And so the big misconception here, and before we get into the more tactical things that you can do and say in order to actually do this, the big misconception that a lot of med spas owners believe is that the problem here is the offer, right? So they believe that we need to change the thing that we're advertising in order to get people in the door so that we can attract higher quality leads. And they say things like, oh, well, $97 offers, they just attract bad leads with no money, or they only ever want the promotion. They never want to buy anything else after they come in. So then what happens is they switch to running a less desirable promotion in order to attract higher quality leads. But what ends up happening is they just waste a lot of time and a lot of money only getting a handful of leads every single month at an insanely high cost, which is very difficult to set appointments with. And so just to kind of drive this idea home, I want you to imagine that you owned a coffee shop. So to get new customers, you run a special, which is a $1 latte for first-time customers. Tons of people come in for the $1 latte, but you're super frustrated because hardly anyone is buying anything else. So logically, you think, okay, this deal is just attracting cheap customers who only want the $1 latte. They're not the kind of people who would ever spend any more money than that. But here's the issue. When those customers came in for the $1 latte, nobody on your team was asking them if they'd like to add food to their order. The staff wasn't mentioning your loyalty program that you have or your best-selling bakery items. They didn't tell them about the premium coffee subscription that you offer. And so the issue here isn't the $1 latte. It's that no one was showing these customers what else they could buy, why it's worth it, and what value it provides to them. They weren't walking them through a sales process that takes somebody from the $1 latte to the $5, pastry or to the next thing, right? The same $1 latte customers could have spent $10, $20, or even become regular customers if someone had taken time to actually guide them towards those other options and show how they were valuable to that person in particular. In your med spa, the low ticket promotion that you run to get people in the door is your version of the $1 latte. It's designed to get people in the door. But the problem here is if you get people in the door, but you don't take time to understand the problem that they're trying to solve, educate them on the proper way to solve it, introduce other treatments or packages that you offer, and also make investing in a package an absolute no-brainer, then you'll struggle to sell packages even to the most affluent people. Even rich people love a great deal. And I think that this is so important to remember. It's so crucial to remember this. Even rich people love a great deal. It's not like rich people go around and they love spending more than other people on things, right? The reason that they probably got rich in the first place is because they're good at holding on to their money, right? Rich people love a great deal. And so you can absolutely attract affluent individuals that have money with these introductory offers. So it's not the offer that's the problem. It's what happens after they come in. It's the process that happens after they come in. Just like the coffee shop owner who blames the $1 latte instead of fixing the sales process, med spa owners often blame the offer instead of focusing on how to actually upsell individuals and provide value. So by learning how to educate and guide clients during the consultation, you'll find that even those broke customers can turn into high-paying clients. Just to give you an example, I've done free work for people, literally done free work that I would normally charge lots of money for. I charged $0 for it, and those individuals ended up turning into $10,000 plus clients. The reason that that worked is not because the reason that that worked is because of the sales process that I walked those individuals through, right? So even $0 you can turn into lots of money. So understanding that it's not an offer problem, but it's a sales problem, that's step one. And it's understanding that first before we actually get into all the tactical stuff that's really important. Now, to get into the more tactical stuff, how do we actually fix this? So you might be thinking, okay, but I do run a consultation. I do introduce my packages and I tell them that they need more than one treatment. They're just never interested. They never want anything else. But what I've found is that what a lot of med spa owners do is they have what I call a crash landing sales process. So this crash landing sales process, it makes people uncomfortable. It makes them feel like they're being sold to. And here's the thing, people love to buy things, but they hate being sold to. Their walls go up, they raise their red flags, and they confidently refuse to buy anything else, or they say, oh, I'll think about it, and then they never actually purchase. So what do I mean by the crash landing sales process? Well, I want you to think of your consultation like a plane ride. You have like a smooth takeoff, calm skies. It's a smooth ride. You downloaded a movie that you were going to watch during the flight. You get like a Diet Coke and one of those little cookie packets from the attendees on the plane. But what happens at the very end of the flight is that it starts to storm while you're landing. It's super uncomfortable. It's a bumpy landing. You get that like dropping feeling in your stomach over and over. The bags in the overhead above you, they're loudly rattling around. And then at the very end, you slam on the ground and the pilot has to slam on the brakes in order to actually stop the plane. My question to you is, what are you going to remember from that flight? Are you going to remember the Diet Coke and the cookies, or are you going to remember that traumatizing landing and probably tell everybody about it, right? This is what most med spa sales processes actually look like. You're nice and friendly to people. You build rapport in the beginning. You ask all of the right questions during the consultation. But then when it comes time to make your quote unquote pitch, you take a nosedive towards the ground. You end up sounding super salesy and pushy. And because of that, all that person is going to remember is how you tried to push a package on them and you were trying to get them to buy something, right? Getting there was smooth. Getting to the pitch was smooth, but then you take a crash landing right at the pitch, right? Why does this happen? Well, if you put yourself in the shoes of the individual that's coming in for the appointment, they saw an ad on social media, they scheduled an appointment with somebody, they're coming in for some like $97 package that includes some specific treatment or set of treatments, some bonuses, and a consultation. That's all they're expecting to buy upon arrival. They think that they're showing up to purchase something for $97. Then what happens is it feels super weird when you try to tell them that, hey, you need to buy like a package or a treatment plan in order to see any results. You're not going to see any results with the thing that you're coming in for. But if you really want to see results, you have to pay us $1,500 instead of the $97 that we got you in the door for. That feels super weird. And the reason it feels weird is because it's unexpected and it's misleading. If there's one thing that I've learned from talking to hundreds and hundreds of leads for med spas, it's that people do not enjoy unexpected surprises in your sales process. People don't want to feel like they've been gotten or manipulated into doing something, right? How I actually came across this idea and how I learned this was through my experience setting appointments for med spas. So I used to try to collect a deposit over the phone in order to get people increase the show rates and increase the likelihood that people actually show up to their appointment. I would start the conversation by asking some discovery questions to make sure they're a good fit. Then we would pick a day and a time for their appointment. The conversation is good. It's happy. They sound super excited about it. But then right at the end of the call, I would tell them, hey, since there's a limited amount of appointments and since we're so busy, we do require a deposit to lock in your appointment. I can either take care of it for you over the phone or I can send you a link to pay over text. Which would you prefer? Now, people's reactions to this were bad. I had plenty of people that just hung up on me on the spot. These individuals who are talking to me nice and friendly the entire time hang up on me right at the end. They tell me that they're not comfortable with giving their card details over the phone. They tell me, hey, send me the link, I'll pay it later. Then they completely ghost us. They block the number. They stop talking to us altogether. This was happening because the deposit request came as an unexpected surprise right at the end of the call, like a crash landing, if you will, that made people feel like they were being gotten or manipulated. Like if you think about it, people are nice and happy. They're talking to me. They're about to get the thing that they want, which is scheduling an appointment. And then right when they're about to get it, I shoot up this wall and I say, nope, you got to pay us $25 if you want to get this thing. And it felt like an unexpected and uncomfortable surprise. So what I did was I made one simple change and the problem disappeared immediately. So instead of asking people at the end of the call how they preferred to pay the deposit, I asked for their permission if they'd be willing to pay a deposit before we ever even agreed on a date and time for the appointment. So what that looks like is early on in the call, I'll say something like, hey, just as a heads up, since there's such a limited amount of appointments and since we're so busy, we do require a deposit for the special. I just wanted to check in with you to see if that was okay before we get you scheduled. Now, all of a sudden, the deposit isn't a surprise anymore. I'm just asking you a harmless question. Are you okay with paying a deposit? If not, no worries, but are you okay with it? And 100% of the time, people say they're okay with it. Like, I have never had any circumstance where I say, hey, we do collect a deposit. Is that okay? I've never had somebody be like, no, that's not okay. They're just like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care. Like, that's cool. Like, it's no big deal, right? And now, as you can see here, I barely even changed the thing that I was saying. The thing that I was saying is basically the same. It's just the way that I said it and the spot in the call that I said it, which made the big difference. So at the end of the call, I would ask them exactly the same thing before. I would ask them how they prefer to pay the deposit. But now the difference is that it's not a surprise and they gladly and willingly pay the deposit. Do you see how that one tiny change makes a massive difference? All I did was change when and how I asked for the deposit, and that small change is what gets people to actually feel comfortable doing it. We need to make similar changes to your in-person sales process to get more people to buy packages and treatment plans. So if you want to sell more packages and more treatment plans, there's tiny tweaks and tiny things that we can say in the consultation that make people feel much more comfortable and much more willing. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So how do we actually fix this problem? Well, you come off as salesy when you, one, surprise them. You surprise people with something that they weren't expecting during the conversation. Two, they perceive that you have your own best interests in mind instead of having their best interests in mind. Or three, they feel like they are being sold to, right? Rather than making a buying decision, they feel like they are being sold or gotten or manipulated. So what we need to do is we need to take the inverse of those three things, and we need to first off set clear expectations as to exactly what's going to happen and include no surprises so they know what's going on. We need to, two, be clear that we have their best interests in mind and not our own best interests in mind. And three, we need to make them feel like they are making a buying decision rather than being sold. We need to make it feel like when they're at the grocery store, if they took your package or they took your treatment plan off of the shelf and they went and checked out, we need it to feel like that, and we need it to not feel like a door-to-door salesman who's knocking on your door and trying to get you to buy something that you never wanted to buy in the first place, right? Let's talk about each one of those three individually. So first off, how do we set clear expectations? Well, we set clear expectations with proper framing. So I'm going to talk about what framing is in a second here. But basically, the way that we set proper expectations, this starts before the appointment. So this actually starts on the phone when you're talking to somebody for the very first time. Remember, we don't want to include any surprises. So what I like to do is I like to say something like this on the phone. I like to say, hey, when you come in for the treatment, what we could do is we could set aside time with Dr. Smith as well. She can give you like a complimentary consult just to make sure you get the best results while you're here. And then we can do the treatment right after the consult. Does that sound helpful? What this does is a few things. It first off makes them aware that the consultation is going to happen. We're not going to surprise them with a consultation when they show up. And it also frames the consultation in how it is a benefit to them, right? As you can see here, we said just to make sure you get the best results while you're here, we want to include this consultation. We're not saying, hey, she can give you a complimentary consult so that we can try to figure out what package or treatment plan is best for you, because that doesn't feel like a benefit to them. What does feel like a benefit to them is, hey, we're here to help you get the best results possible. And so that's why we include this consultation, right? So that's how you set expectations before the appointment. Now, how do you set expectations during the appointment? Well, we need to quickly frame the consultation right in the beginning. And what I mean by frame the consultation is basically just say, here is exactly how this conversation is going to go so that there are no surprises. After you spend some time building rapport, talking about, maybe you introduce yourself, you talk a little bit about your expertise. After you've built some rapport with that individual, shown that you're a real human being, and before you start asking discovery questions, or before you start asking the typical questions you'd ask during a consultation, you want to say something like this. So you would say, okay, so the first part of our conversation today is really just to understand where you are right now in terms of your, whatever they came in for, their skin health, their body goals, their weight loss, what you've tried in the past, and where you'd like to be. based on all that, if I think we can help, we can definitely explain a little more about what we've got going on over here and how that might be able to work for you. Or at the very least, I can point you towards some options to work towards your, whatever their goal is, your, better skin health as well. Does that sound fair? Basically what you're doing here is you're saying, hey, here is what's going to happen during this consultation. If they say, yes, that sounds good, or yes, that sounds fair, they have now agreed to the terms of the conversation and there can no longer be any surprises. Now, a key note here is that you don't want to mention packages or treatment plans or anything quite yet, because they'll immediately just tell you, oh, I'm not here to buy anything else. Or they'll be like, oh, well, could you just show me what the packages are now? Like, I don't really want to go through all this, right? We're going to bring up the packages and the treatment plans later in a much more gentle way. Now, this early in the conversation is not the time to bring up the packages and the treatment plans. Then from there, you would just resume your consultation as you normally would. You would probably go right into discovery. So you'd ask some questions to understand where exactly it is that they are, where they would like to be, what their goals are, and then also the obstacles that have stood in their way as to getting that result so far. During your consultation or during the actual discovery questions, it's really important to get all of the problems that they want fixed out into the open, as well as the implications of those problems. So we really want to understand, like, okay, here's everything that you're here to solve, or here are all the things that are on your mind that are currently bugging you that you want to fix. And then it's also important to get them to say that they're not looking for a quick fix, but they're looking for longer lasting results. That could be a simple question such as like, hey, listen, you definitely don't seem like this type of person. I know I probably don't have to ask you this, but just wanted to confirm, like, I'm assuming you're not just looking for something that lasts for like a couple of weeks. You're looking for results that last on a longer time horizon. You could ask it like that, or you could just be like, how important is solving this problem to you? And they'll typically kind of cement in their head the idea of like, okay, I'm not looking for just like a quick fix. But if you're not sure what questions to ask during the consultation, go ahead and check out my ultimate sales process video for how to actually do the questioning and what questions you can ask. I'll pop that up on the screen now. Number 2 here is to show them that you have their best interests in mind and not just your own best interests in mind by using what's called a solid transition. So after you ask them questions and you've gone through the discovery process to understand what exactly it is that they're struggling with and what they'd like to achieve, the most crucial part here is the transition. Okay, so how you transition from discovery questions or asking them questions to the actual quote unquote pitch, which is where you're going to tell them what you believe is going to be best for them. This is going to make or break the sale. This is the part where you're either going to sound like a helping hand, someone who genuinely has their best interests in mind, or you're going to sound like a sleazy salesman. So it's really important that you get this part right and that you practice this. So we need to give them the impression that this is kind of what we're saying here. Now, we're not going to say this exactly, but the whole idea that we're trying to get across is, okay, now that I understand where you are currently, and now that you have specifically told me what you're trying to achieve, is it okay if I make a recommendation as to how I believe you can achieve that exact thing? So we're basically saying, okay, we're taking what you just said that you want. I didn't know what you wanted before, but now that I know what you want, is it okay if I make a recommendation as to how I believe you can achieve that? We need to ask for permission to pitch, right? The worst thing that you can do is just start pitching. So what a lot of people do is they'll ask some questions and then they'll be like, oh, well, based on all that you just told me, it kind of sounds like you're going to need more than just one treatment. I think you're going to need 4 to 6 treatments to achieve what you want. How does that sound? It's like, whoa, get away from me. Like, you're trying to sell me something. I'm not interested, right? So what does this look like in practice? How do we seamlessly transition from the questioning or asking people discovery questions and learning more about them into the pitch? Well, after you ask them questions, it's crucial that you first summarize everything that you've heard. This shows that you were listening and you actually understand their situation, and we aren't just following like a script where we're going to pitch every single person the same like preset packages at the very end. Here's how to do it. So you would say, okay, well, thank you so much for sharing all that. That really helps me out. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Is it okay if I just kind of like quickly summarize what I've heard so far? And then you're just going to go, okay, cool. So it sounds like this is where you are now. This is where you want to get. And here are all the obstacles that are standing in your way. And you can say that multiple times for all the things that they said they want to fix. Does that sound pretty accurate, or did I miss anything at all? 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, yep, that sounds great. Or if they feel like you missed something, then they might repeat a few things. Once they've agreed to the summary, we now need to get permission to pitch. So we need to get permission to move to the next phase. And you'll find that a common theme in this video is that we're constantly asking for people's permission to move on to the next phase in the consultation. We're not just kind of like abruptly like dragging them along the consultation. We're saying like, hey, is it okay if we move to this next part, right? So what you would say is, got it. Well, that helps me understand what you're looking for. Now, I couldn't help but notice you mentioned this specific thing that you wanted. You would just insert whatever dream desired outcome they said that they want. Now, what you're here for is an introductory package. Our average client is typically going to see and then insert whatever result they can expect to see from this package, which is awesome. But it sounds like you're looking for, and then you would insert some kind of like long-term or more permanent result that they're looking for. So it sounds like you're looking for like a more long-term permanent result, right? And then they would say, yeah, because they just said that to you earlier, that that's what they're looking for. So you're just confirming like, this is what you said, right? And then you go, oh, great. Well, I'm really excited about this because we actually help people just like you fix the thing that you just said that you want fixed for good without all the things that you don't want, right? And obviously you would customize this to the person. And I'll give you an example in a second. And then you'd end it out just by saying, we do this for like a dozen clients a month. Would it be okay if I just kind of quickly explained how we might be able to help you with that? Right? And do you kind of see how the whole impression that we're giving here is that like, okay, like you're here for this introductory package, but honestly, based on what you just told me, like, I think I might have a better idea. Is it okay if I just kind of give you some of the details of that? And we're asking for permission, right? We're saying, is it okay if I tell you more? We're not just saying, here's what I think is best for you, and this is what you should buy, right? And now just to give you a quick example of what this could potentially sound like, it could be like, okay, got it. Well, that helps me understand what you're looking for. Now, I couldn't help but notice you mentioned that you wanted to like smooth out your crow's feet and kind of smoothing out those forehead lines as well. Now, what you're here for is like an introductory Botox package. Our average client, they typically see some noticeable softening of the lines and like a smoother, more refreshed look from this introductory package, which is awesome. But it sounds like you're also looking for like a longer term solution to maintain that like youthful, smooth appearance over time, right? Not just kind of like a short term quick fix. Got it. Okay, great. Well, I'm really excited about this because we actually help people just like you smoothing out those fine lines and wrinkles for good without like with the use of a consistent treatment plan without like that overly frozen look that some people worry about, right? Or I would maybe even modify that last part. So like we actually help people just like you kind of, individuals that are dealing with signs of aging, smoothing out those fine lines and wrinkles for good without that overly frozen look that some people worry about. I probably wouldn't even mention like a package or a treatment plan at this point. Right? Do you see how you're customizing it to the person and you're taking the things that they told you during the consultation and you're piecing it into this and you're basically saying like, this is what you came in for, but honestly, like based on everything that you're looking for, I feel like we actually help people just like you solve this exact problem. Would it be okay if I kind of told you how we would do that, or that we help you solve this exact problem for good? Like we get rid of it entirely. Is it okay if I tell you about that? Now, what we're doing here is we're allowing them to tell us what they want during the discovery process, and then we are simply asking for their permission to show them how they can get it, right? It's as simple as that. You told me that you want this. I feel like I have an idea of how I might be able to get you that. Is it okay if I tell you how, right? We are changing the frame from them thinking, I'm here just to get this one treatment. Like all I'm interested in is getting that one treatment. And we're changing that to, I'm here to solve my problem completely. So we're really kind of trying to have like a mindset shift here where we're saying like, this is what you can achieve with what you're here for. This is what you can achieve if you actually listen to our advice, right? And now it's really important too, one note that I want to make here is that when you're saying this part where you say like our average client typically sees this type of result from the package, it's important that you don't downplay the results that they can get from the thing that they're coming in for, because then in their mind, they're going to be thinking like, why are you guys selling this package? Or like, why am I even here if I can't get any results from this thing, right? So we don't want to completely downplay it. We do want to tell them and be honest about here's exactly what you can expect from the thing that you're here for. But it sounds like what you actually want is a little bit different from that, right? It's no longer focused on what they want, which they were coming in and they thought they were just going to get one treatment and then never talk to you again. But it's now focused on what they genuinely and legitimately need in order to solve the problem that they just told you about. Next, you would deliver your 3 pillars pitch. So if you don't know what that is, feel free to watch my ultimate sales process video and you can learn a little bit more about that. But this is basically where you break down how you're actually going to get them results alongside some kind of educational presentation. And the key word here is educational. You really want to help people understand what it is that you think is best for them and why you believe that's the best solution for them to maintain and sustain their results over time. It's typically going to break down into 3 different steps or 3 different parts of the explanation. You're typically going to explain what we'll do before we start treating you to make sure that you actually get results, what combination of treatments that we think is best for you, and how they're going to solve your problem at every single layer and every single stage. So for example, like maybe you put together a package that's a combination of laser, toxin, skincare, or maybe you do like a body contouring, nutrition, and supplements. I don't know. You're the medical provider, so you think of that. And then the third piece here would be what we're going to do after the treatments, or how we're going to make sure that you actually have long lasting results that don't just go away. And then you're going to finish up by showing them tons of before and after pictures. So after you go through and you explain, here's exactly how this works, and you're going to literally display like a presentation, whether it's on like an iPad in front of you or on a TV or whatever. You're going to walk them through a presentation. Maybe it has some pictures in there, some videos, some explanations to educate them on how it all works and how it's going to solve their problem. Then you would finish up and just be like, here's a handful of individuals that we took through this same exact process, and here's the types of results that they were seeing, right? And you're just going to show them as many of those as you possibly have. And again, watch my ultimate sales process video for more on developing your 3 pillars pitch. And then number 3 here is to make them feel like they are buying and not being sold to with what's called a tie down. Okay, so if we immediately transition into explaining our treatment plan or our packages, they're going to feel like they're being sold. So if we say, here's how this all works, here's the packages and the treatment plans that I think are best for you, they're going to immediately feel like they're being sold to. So again, common theme of the video here, we need to get permission from them in order to tell them about our packages. And so what you can do is you can use what's called a tie down to get verbal agreement from them that they understand the process and they agree that this process is actually going to help them achieve their goal. And so usually you can do that with 3 different questions. First off, you can go, okay, well, with all that said, do you have any questions about the 3 steps I just went over specifically? Or do you have any questions about anything that we just went over specifically? You just want to make sure that they understood and they were listening and all that. Then you want to go, perfect. So do you feel like this process is exactly what you need right now to actually get to whatever their goal is? And then most likely they're going to say yes, or this does sound really great. You're going to go, okay, great. And do you feel like we're the perfect fit to actually help you get there? Right. So we're trying to get confirmation that they believe that what you're telling them is actually going to work for them, and they believe that you can help them with that. Right. And then finally, once you get answers to those questions, you're going to get permission. So you're going to go, great. Well, is it okay if I share some treatment options? Some treatment options that I think are perfect for you? And then they're going to say yes, of course. And you're going to go, great. And then you're going to show them the treatment options or the packages that you have created, right? Your treatment options or your packages or your treatment plans should always have some kind of reason to move forward today. So whether it's like, this is an offer that expires today, it's an offer that expires this week, or it's a monthly special. And then you should also include some kind of like free bonuses with purchase, things that are only available this week, so on and so forth. Reasons for people to say, oh, wow, that's a no-brainer. I need to take advantage of that before it's gone, right? Now, the bottom line here is basically the goal is to hold someone's hand and gently walk them through your sales process and gently walk them through your consultation by asking for their permission to move forward throughout the process, rather than dragging them and yanking them around and yanking them through your sales process with random and unexpected surprises along the way, right? At no point should someone think, well, I wasn't expecting them to say that, or I wasn't expecting them to start pitching me. That was so random, right? What we do is we get permission and we don't move forward until we get the permission, so that nothing ever comes off as a surprise. If we ask for permission to show the packages, or if we ask for permission to tell them how we believe we could help them get that better result, then all of a sudden, as long as they say yes and they say, sure, yeah, you can tell me, it's no longer a surprise. And it feels like more of like a consultative process rather than this like salesy, like I'm going to, get to the packages at the end of this no matter what, right? And so since this was a lot of information, I just wanted to quickly kind of summarize what the consult looks like all the steps of the consultation. Again, I go into more depth on all of these in my video called like the ultimate sales process or whatever it's called. So feel free to watch that one. But I just kind of wanted to walk through all the different steps of this so that you can visualize it and see what this conversation is supposed to look like. So first off, after you've introduced yourself, explained some of your expertise, you've built a little bit of rapport, you would start by setting expectations for the conversation, like we talked about at the beginning, where you're going to tell them, here's exactly how this conversation is going to go. Then you're going to ask your discovery questions. Once you get all of their answers and you understand where they are currently, where they would like to get, the obstacles holding them back from there, and also how that makes them feel, you're going to summarize that back to them and basically, okay, so here's everything that I'm hearing so far. Does that all sound pretty accurate? Then from there, if they say, yep, that sounds good, you're going to transition into the pitch. And your transition is basically where you say, great, well, what you're here for is that introductory package. I actually think that, based on what you're telling me, there might be something that's better. And then you're going to go into your 3 pillars pitch where you're going to explain, here's the exact process that we take people through in order to get them the result that you're looking for. And then after that, we ask those tie down questions to make sure that they genuinely believe that what we just told them is actually going to work for them and believe that we are going to help them with it. And then after that, we ask for permission to tell them about our packages and our treatment plans, and also go over all the pricing that's associated with those things. And then you want to make sure that your packages and your treatment plans have reasons to move forward today. Then from there, what you would do is you would probably try to close them on one or a few of the packages or whatever you're trying to do at the end there. If they have objections, you're going to handle those objections. And if they want to move forward, you're going to reinforce their decision and have systems in place where they feel like, wow, I just made a really great decision. I'm glad that I'm moving forward with this company and not somebody else. Now, this might seem like a lot of steps, but it eventually becomes second nature, but only if you practice. So you can't just hand off a script or like a general guideline for consultations to your team. And you also can't just like wing these consultations yourself. You need to practice. That means scheduling time every single week to practice being the consultant and also being the client. And so whether it's you by yourself and you're just kind of practicing these things out loud, or whether you have a team, you should practice with your team, and you should be on both sides of the consultation, and you should make this a weekly ritual. This should just be something that you practice every single week, because at the end of the day, sales is the lifeblood of your business. And the things that we actually practice are the things that we get better at. Sales is a skill, and you won't get better at it if you're just winging it every single time you have these conversations. So I'd absolutely recommend making it a daily or a weekly ritual to practice sales, even if it's just for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Make it a practice so that you can actually start to turn more of these opportunities that are showing up on your door into treatment plan or package sales, so that you can truly help people to the best of your ability. So to wrap it up, with all that said, if you'd like to hear more about how I could potentially get you 10 to 20 qualified appointments that actually show up every single month, and if I don't get you that result, then you wouldn't pay, then feel free to go to wellnessleads.co or visit the first link in the description. There will be a video on that page. Feel free to watch that page, and then underneath the video, there's a button to book a call with me where we can chat and see if we're a good fit to actually help you get that result. And if it's not a good fit, I'll tell you and we won't work together, and that's totally fine. So if that sounds interesting, go to wellnessleads.co, and I'll see you in the next video.